Hey guys, it's Viridian Loom, also known as Venat for most of my music projects. That's actually the name of my YouTube channel, but I know that quite a few people that are watching this are probably from the Weekly Beats community, so Viridian, that's cool. I've been wanting to make videos for a while now. I have just never really, I have been making videos, I just don't upload them. So this will probably be the first one that I actually commit to uploading. I'm having a pumpkin spice tea with, or herbal tea or whatever, with some maple cream in it, which is something I didn't know that was a thing that existed until my sister lives out in Ohio, and there's like a maple farm out there. And so for Christmas, she sent me a bunch of maple goodies, and among the things that she sent me was maple cream, which for those who don't know about it, because I didn't know about it, so you kind of like cook it, like heat it up. You get it kind of this like maple butterscotch stage. And then you take it off the heat and you just like consistently stir it and stir it and stir it and stir it. And you kind of aerate it with these crystals. And then it becomes like a thick cream. And it's all just maple syrup, nothing else. So it just imparts a stronger maple flavor. Okay, enough. I went on a big tangent about my tea and maple cream, but it's good. I'm going to have to edit out the fucking slurp sounds, I'm sure. So getting back on track, I definitely don't want to be making videos on a weekly basis, but it would be cool to make them on a monthly basis. Monthly vids, that'd be cool. I think that's a little bit more doable for me. Because yeah, I just don't have the motivation necessarily to always want to be on camera. But I want to be on camera sometimes. So most people have gotten to know me on Weekly Beats, not only through listening to my music, but reading the song descriptions more than anything. And then like chatting with me on Discord. I've chatted with some people on the weekly meets that we normally have every Sunday. But I mean, this year Weekly Meets has gotten a little different because it's become more of a listening session, which is cool. But yeah, there's just not as much like actual like conversation occurring. But I kind of figured like what I would do on like a monthly cadence, or just kind of like whenever I'm feeling like it, it's just kind of like talk about, I don't know, what's going on in my life, kind of like a vlog, as well as like kind of what kind of songs I've been writing, where the motivation has been coming from, all that jazz. So week one, I wrote a song called From Nothing. You can read the song description on that one. If anybody hasn't heard any of this music before, I'll put links in the YouTube description. But From Nothing, like one big motivation behind that song is that I had just gotten a new acoustic guitar, and I wanted to really make use of the acoustic guitar in many of my songs this year. And I basically have been using the acoustic guitar nearly nonstop until this last week, which includes no acoustic guitar at all. It's just a electric guitar and other stuff. But yeah, so 4 songs so far have featured the acoustic guitar predominantly as like the kind of the central instrument. And the song From Nothing was kind of a singer-songwriter type thing. I figured that'd be kind of like an easy approach. Lyrically, just it's about the whole idea of like struggling with struggling with like the act of songwriting in general, but more so coming from a place of isolation, and how for many years, for like basically all, like honestly most of my life as a musician, I have written music in isolation. There was a period of time where I had a band called Viridian of the Loom. That's where the name comes from. And I still wrote most of the music in that band myself, but a big, like, so I would come up with the structure of the songs more so. And then those songs would evolve with the addition of my friends Ryan on bass, Raphael on guitar, and Mike on drums. And I wouldn't really write the parts for them. They all kind of came up with their own parts. And so those songs evolved into something that wasn't just something I wrote in my bedroom. You know, like, I mean, it started that way, but they became something more, right? You know, just life kind of got in the way. As far as like, friends were focusing on college, or they had like a job, or they kind of like moved further out of this, like, the drive, which was kind of long, you know? But, so I started writing music myself, and I had been in some bands here and there. But after some point, I just started like writing all music by myself. I started taking it upon myself to learn to write drums, started playing bass, and then I started Weekly Beats in 2020. I started like trying to do everything by myself, like everybody does on Weekly Beats. And yeah, I was just trying to make like rock music where I used programmed drums and played bass and played keys, and I started singing and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, over the years, I started writing, like, my abilities as a solo musician have improved significantly, but I kind of like realized after releasing my debut album in 2024 that when you don't have anybody sharing the celebration of making the music with, then you're just celebrating by yourself, and then it kind of feels like an empty experience. So even though I'm really proud of the album that I put out, it does suck that it's like basically for me only. Anyways, that's kind of what From Nothing is about. So you can get the gist of it if you listen to the track, read the lyrics and all that stuff. The next song after that was The Sign for week 2. That one was me trying to decompress a little bit after writing the previous song. I wanted to write something that was like that I wasn't as heavily invested in. Because yeah, with that first song, I really wanted to make sure I kind of got the point across with like the lyrics and everything, both in the way that I sing them and like the overall trajectory of the song. The Sign ended up being kind of an exercise in sound design. Something that I did with The Sign was that I really tried to make heavy use of automation, because I don't, like, I use automation in a lot of tracks, but not to like, I mean, the kind of automation I normally do is kind of more along the lines of like volume automation and maybe a pan something, like, so it moves left to right. But I don't do a lot of like, I wanted to like learn to automate synthesizers better, like have stuff where it's like the cutoff like moves throughout the song, or like, I don't know a shit ton about synths to know like what kind of interesting things you can automate to kind of get specific sounds. So I guess that's kind of what I was experimenting with. The next song after that was Sodden, Vale. So I approached that week trying to make a much longer song, because I had come up with this idea that ended up being, it was something, and actually, you know what, maybe what I can do here, which might be kind of cool, maybe I can perform a piece of the music that I didn't actually put out yet, just kind of like a preview for those that are like watching this video. Anyways, and that was the song idea. And it sounds a little too much like Tool, like Schism for my preference. Anyways, back to the video. Sodden Vale is like part 3 of a 3-part song. Yeah. Because it was like it was what I intended to be kind of like this this ending section. I would say like all these like a huge influence for these songs comes from this band called Aquilus, which kind of does this kind of apocalyptic, nihilistic kind of acoustic. Not acoustic. They don't do. I mean, they have acoustic guitars in the music, but they kind of like have this like neoclassical vibe to them. That was a huge influence on Sodden Vale. That's actually kind of like where the track title comes from. It was like I was trying to emulate the kind of language that's used in the lyrics of Aquilus's album called Grisius. For that song, so I had this like specifically composed part, and then because I wasn't sure, well, I guess what happened that week to better explain. So like I said, it was supposed to be part of a much longer song, probably something that's like 10 plus minutes. And when I started trying to record that song throughout that week, I was finding that I was like, I was like, the first part isn't fully like written in the way that I want it to be. The second part, I'm running into some problems with it sounding too much like a certain band that I don't want it to sound like. So I was like still trying to work on that part. And then I was like, well, I have this last part. It sounds real cool. I guess I can just take that and kind of run with it and create like a small fragment of a song. And so I started doing that. And that's what the beginning of Sodden Vale is. Sodden Vale. After that part, I kind of like, I did some like big chords, and then I kind of let it fall into this like soundscape thing again. But I had much more fun with it this time, because I ended up like, I felt like the atmosphere was very creepy and spooky. So I started doing this kind of like whispering into the microphone. I was like trying to make my voice shudder, and then tapping on like, I was just messing around with a lot of objects in the room to create all these different like Foley sounds. Like I have this metronome that has a dial on it that has this like, as you turn the dial, it kind of has this like gear noise. So I was like turning that. I was tapping on the side of like a candle that I had, because the glass, I was getting that glass tapping sound. Took a tin whistle and I was like blowing into that to kind of create this like this woodwind effect or whatever. All kinds of stuff. It was good. It was good fun. After Sodden Vale, week 4. Oh my god, why am I spacing on the name of it? Begins with the name. It's part 1 of the previous song, right? And so that means I'm still gonna have to like develop and work on part 2 at some point. Honestly, it kind of ended up being like the part 3, where it was like I had an idea and then I kind of just started developing it more to try to make it an isolated song. So I don't really even have that much to say about the 4th week. I mean, given the fact that I can't even remember its name. And then this last week, week 5, I had a song called Catharsis. So that one is actually a much older song. That was written like way back in the Viridian of the Loom days, where I mean, the reason why the band was called Viridian of the Loom was it was kind of aping the fact that there's a band called Maudlin of the Well, which was the precursor to Keodot. The unfortunate thing is that obviously what I regret about it is that it sounds like a certain kind of brand of clothing. That's what everybody always thinks of, and then that's a big reason why I was like, I gotta get away from this Viridian of the Loom shit. The whole reason we even like went with that name, actually, because we were originally called Viridian, but there was a band called Viridian in Italy at the time. This was like way back when MySpace was more the thing, right? So if you just went on MySpace and looked up Viridian, you'd find that there was a band in Italy called Viridian. So we felt like we couldn't use the name Viridian, right? Which is bullshit, because now when you try to look up this any band called Viridian from Italy, it's like you can't find a trace of them, right? And ironically, you know, I live in Tucson, but ironically, there's a band called Viridian in Phoenix now, which only popped up in like 2018 or some shit. So we could have had the fucking name Viridian forever, but that was a big tangent. But I just figured I'd share the woes of trying to come up with a band name. So Catharsis wrote that song. I originally wrote like the bulk of that song way back when. It was heavily influenced by Keodot, because they have a song called Marathon, and I mean, if you compare my song to Marathon, you'll kind of like hear outright how Marathon kind of starts off with these big chords and it kind of like dies off into this like soft stuff, and there's like a big boom part. It's actually maybe too much like Marathon, which is something I don't like. Like if Toby Driver was ever to listen to, like if I put out a record with this song on it and he listened to it, I wouldn't want him thinking like, oh, it sounds like my band, you know? I'd want it to sound like my own thing, right? So I guess that's kind of like one thing I don't like about the song that I wrote. Overall, I am happy with the song quite a bit. Even though it does ape that Keodot song, I think it has enough of me in it to sound pretty cool. So trying to think more. Yeah, okay, so like the way, at least to kind of cover more of like how this song was developed recently, I started working on it again. Like I originally had this kind of like jazzier kind of like ending section, if even, because it was like I posted a video with the song that I recorded 14 or 15 years ago or whatever it was. That song, it has the whole same first part of Catharsis, and then it cuts into this kind of like jazzier, kind of like arpeggiated chord thing. And I kind of just ended the video there. It was like, it was supposed to be like the beginning chord of like a bigger section of the song or whatever. It just doesn't fit the vibe. So when I was rewriting the song recently, I made this more evil sounding progression, and I loved it. It reminded me a lot of the band Gorguts. That was like a huge kind of like source of inspiration as far as like trying to get the sound to kind of like emulate that dirty, like grindy death metal sound that Gorguts has. I feel like I kind of achieved that. It sounds pretty gnarly. I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. And then the same thing ended up, like, just in spirit, when I started doing the death metal vocals on it, it kind of sounds like that same kind of screaming that Gorguts does. I wasn't trying to channel Gorguts in that moment, but it just kind of, at that point, it's already kind of coming out, right? So, but yeah, that covers all the songs so far for the month of January and partially the beginning of February. The song I'm currently working on for this week, week 6, and who knows if this will be like what I actually end up submitting, because you never know, like as the week goes, sometimes like Sunday rolls around and I write something completely different. But I'm in a band with Blighters Rock called the Erectones. It's a pop punk kind of band. Because I've been playing so much music with them lately, I was kind of thinking like maybe I could start writing some tunes that might fit in with that band. And but trying to find a way to do it in a way that's like, that kind of incorporates the kind of style of music that I like, right? Like, I don't want to make it like overtly proggy or anything. I definitely want it to sound kind of like more in that realm of pop punk, but I would like to have it do like math rock stuff. So that's kind of like what I'm doing right now. I'm doing this like blend of pop punk meets math rock to see how that sounds. Because like a big thing is that it's like, I mean, I say math rock, it's going to be probably in like 4/4. I'm not going to do like actual like a bunch of bizarre time signatures, but I'm trying to kind of emulate that the rhythmic complexity that you might find in math rock, but with but keeping it in like 4/4. And yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just see how that ends up going for week 6. So now I've kind of like discussed weekly beat stuff. I guess I also want to say for those that are watching currently, January was a super busy month for me. It's always busy in my specific line of work. I'm a data analyst and I work in healthcare. I won't get any more specific than that, but I tried to get around and comment on as many people's music as I could, but I start running out of juice as the week goes on. I'm just so exhausted from work. And then on top of that, like I mentioned, I'm in a band, so I think I even like performed, if I remember correctly, I did perform a show last month too. Maybe it was like on week 2. I don't remember. Yeah, it was week 2. It was week 2. Yeah, I performed a show. My birthday was last month, so it was like creating plans with the family around my birthday time and all that on a weekend. There was the KO show, which was awesome. Got to spend time with friends, went out to the movies and stuff also. It's just been busy. Just been a busy month. So, yeah, I just never really, I tried to get around and commenting on as many people's songs as I could. And I got better about it tonight. I kind of went back and retroactively kind of like caught up on people's music. So thank you if you've been commenting on my music and checking it out. I very much appreciate it. Okay, so weekly beats stuff aside, as far as like what else is new with me, what's going on in my life, whatever. So I mean, in the past, I especially made it very, like some people know that I used to make it very apparent that I'm very into video games. So I've commented less about like video games than my songs this year, but I actually haven't really been playing as many video games this year. I think it's because I've been more focused on music and other stuff or whatever. But I'm currently playing that, it's like a Paper Mario type game. What's it called? Escape from Ever After, I believe. That's been pretty interesting and cool. I think, so 2 games are coming out this month that I'm super excited for. There's going to be the new Resident Evil 9. Yeah, Resident Evil 9. I mean, the game already looked awesome, like before I knew Leon Kennedy was going to be in it, because I love the first person perspective Resident Evil games. Like the 7th game was great because it was like probably their best horror Resident Evil, I think. And then the 8th game was great because it was kind of like first person Resident Evil 4 basically is what it felt like. I loved that. And then I guess Resident Evil 9 is actually going to be a mixture of both of them. I don't know how that'll work. I'm curious if they're going to separate the 2 characters into campaigns the way that, like, I think it was in Resident Evil 3. Oh, actually, Resident Evil 3 and 2, you could, like, select one of the 2 characters and kind of play through the whole game as them. I'm wondering if they're going to do that, or if it's going to be, like, you play one character and then all of a sudden something happens in the story and it cuts to the other character. I don't know how I'd feel if it did that, because unless it's done well, that can be a little jarring. And kind of like interrupt the flow of the story, you know? If you're like playing this chick, I don't know what her name is, and then it cuts Leon Kennedy like right when her story's getting good. And it's like, well, I love Leon Kennedy and it's fun to play his stuff. You know, I want to finish up what I had already started over there. We'll see how that goes. Did I say the other game that I was interested in was Mewgenics, which I think comes out before Resident Evil 9. And that's a game made by Edmund McMillan. He's known for Super Meat Boy and The Binding of Isaac. Those are like the 2 big games. Definitely one of the OG indie developers. Mewgenics is a game that he's been working on for, I want to say for the better part of a decade. It feels like it's been in development forever. Like it's kind of like, I mean, I think he's described it as I think he said Pokemon early in development. I don't know if it's necessarily like that anymore, but it kind of strikes me as kind of like a Final Fantasy Tactics or XCOM type of game where you have like cats that they evolve, I guess, like Pokemon do. But the evolution of these cats is tied to like you breeding different cats with different characteristics and traits, and so you get cats with new traits and stuff. I don't know how it's all going to play out. I've deliberately have kind of stayed a little bit in the dark on it. On games like that, I kind of like to go in blind and just like see what happens and see if I like get surprised and I like love it. So, but I'm quite looking forward to that one this month. I don't know, like those are basically the only things I've been thinking about gaming wise. I have like a large backlog of video games, right? And I complete a lot of games, but even then I still have only completed like maybe like 60% of my game library. I got a lot of games to play. And then on top of that, I started getting into emulation stuff last year. I mean, I've always like have played emulators in the past, but last year I started playing through the Silent Hill games. Because I bought Silent Hill, the remake, or the Silent Hill 2, the remake. As I was thinking about playing it, I was like, I don't know, maybe I should play the old one first. Maybe I should play the old one first because I never played the old one. And then that way it's like I can get the original intended experience of the game and then experience the remaster. Because people have been talking about Silent Hill 2 forever, right? It's regarded as one of the best survival horror games. And I see it referenced all the time in all kinds of other media. So I was like, maybe I should play the original game first before playing the remaster. And I'm glad I did, because it was really amazing. Like, I totally get why people still, I mean, I'm an advocate for it now, playing it for the first time. It blew my mind that a game made in like 2001, I think, is still this fucking good. Like, the atmosphere of Silent Hill 2 is just like really unmatched. Like, it was still scary. And I remember when I was playing the game, sometimes you just get that moment when you're playing something, watching a movie, whatever, where you just know that you're like experiencing something really special in that moment that's never going to be the same, because you can only experience it that way the first time. Like, you can always experience it with greater appreciation and kind of have nostalgia for it on future playthroughs or whatever, but it's never going to be like the first time you experienced it. I had that experience while playing the game, and I'll admit, the ending of the game made me cry, dude. Just so philosophically deep too, because it really makes you like think about the scenario that the main character is in, and kind of think about the ethics of like if what he did was right or wrong, you know? Because I really don't, because it is gray. Like, some people would be like, well, objectively what he did was wrong, and it's like, no, I don't think so. Like, I think, I won't get into it, but if you have played the game, I think you know what I mean. But yeah, it was an amazing game. So then I beat that, and then I played Silent Hill, the original Silent Hill, and I was really surprised. Like, I attributed so much of Silent Hill 2 as if it did everything first, and then I found out like a lot of the stuff that Silent Hill 2 did was already done in Silent Hill 1. It's just that Silent Hill 2 did it even better. That just showed me that like Silent Hill is also an incredible game. I wasn't as into Silent Hill 3 when I played that one. I felt like that was a step back. I think a lot of people agree that it's not as good as Silent Hill 2, but I don't agree at all that like some people are like, yeah, it's good. I'm like, I really don't think it's that good. I think it's a lot of it, like some people would say that the kind of like stilted voices and voice acting or whatever, kind of the cheesiness of Silent Hill 2 works in its favor, and I agree with that, because it kind of like, it gives off this like otherworldly vibe of like, it feels like everybody's kind of in this haze, like they're under the influence of this place, and it's like they can't fully, they sound kind of disconnected from reality, right? And then Silent Hill 3 just reminds me that no, it's just bad voice acting. So I'm like, it just doesn't work for me in Silent Hill 3. And the plot's not as good, and the themes aren't really there. People argue that like it has to do with like kind of like bodily autonomy for women especially, but the themes are just not that strong. Like I could like really dive into Silent Hill 2's themes and just kind of like, it felt like I could just like analyze it for hours. I'm like, yeah, there is so much, like there's so much to this game. Like everything just like fits together like perfectly, even if they didn't even intend it that way, you know? But it was like I was struggling to like piece it together in that way for Silent Hill 3. I don't know. And then I didn't get around to playing Silent Hill 4. Like I had played it a long time ago, and I know it's not like, it's the black sheep of the franchise basically, and then after that point people start hating all the games. But I did play the remake. Remake was really good. And then I played Silent Hill F, which, you know, given that I had just played all those other Silent Hills, I think Silent Hill F does an amazing job, actually, of capturing... Like, I think it's honestly the closest that they've gotten back to Silent Hill 2. It's still not quite there, but there is that depth to the game where I feel like you can analyze that shit for a while. People will analyze Silent Hill F a lot more as the years go by. I'll just say that. Like, I definitely think it's a great game. Not perfect, but definitely the right direction the franchise should be going in. Okay, enough about Silent Hill. But basically, the gist of what I was trying to say before, as far as like why I even brought it up, is I started getting into emulation, and I started with all those Silent Hill games, but there's still a lot of like, there's a ton of games in the past that I never got around to playing. So I feel like on top of what I already have in my Steam library, and then like all these emulated games that I could be playing, some like I want to play more survival horror games, and I never got around to, so I'm looking forward to that. But it's just like, there shouldn't really be a need for me to like buy more games unless it's something that I'm like already excited for, like the aforementioned Resident Evil 9 and Mewgenics. So I guess the last thing I'll say is that one thing I've been wanting to do more of this year is to sit around and just listen to music. Like, honestly, like for too long I've been putting on music in the background of things, right? Like I go to cook, so I listen to music. Or I'm working, so I put some music on. Or I'm playing a video game, so I put some music on, right? I used to treat it more like it was the primary form of entertainment in the past. And that just kind of like slipped away from me. I mean, I think when I started working at home, maybe that's where, because like when you're driving, like, yes, you're driving and the music is on in the background, but it's more like the music is the main thing I'm listening to and the driving is in the background. Like I can, you know, I'm kind of like autopilot on the way to work and everything. But since I started working at home, I don't really drive around that much anymore, so I don't listen to music as much in isolation anymore. That's something I've been wanting to get back to, and I have specifically been wanting to get around to buying CDs and vinyl records again, and just putting on like a record and sitting in front of the stereo and just listening to music. And this is all partially kind of like a little bit in protest of like Spotify. I'd like to get away from Spotify. It's funny, the only reason I haven't is just because on Spotify, I've liked so many songs over the years, and I've created like a bunch of playlists of music that's like, I don't want to lose any of that stuff. So I've been gradually trying to like document everything that I have been listening to, you know, like wish listing as much stuff as I can on Bandcamp or whatever, so that I can like buy everything, start collecting those records from the bands that I do like and whatnot, so that I could eventually just kind of detach from it and be done with Spotify. The only thing I'd miss about Spotify, honestly, is like the algorithm, because it has been pretty decent at just, you know, showing me related music that I end up liking quite a bit. If it weren't for Spotify, I wouldn't have found like a shit ton of like the modern prog bands I mean, there's definitely other ways to go about it. There's a website that I personally like to frequent called Sputnik Music, which is just a music review website. And they do a pretty good job of kind of like, whenever I go on there, I kind of see what's new and popular. And, you know, that shit is not being recommended to me by the algorithm on Spotify. So I guess, you know, there's arguments to be made that you don't really need the algorithm at all. But yeah, I would encourage everybody to get back to doing that if it feels like that's been a thing that's kind of become distant from, like, if that's something you used to do and you don't really do it anymore, get back to doing it. It's good. It feels good to like dig into these albums, like especially full albums. Like I'm kind of getting sick of, I used to be like a purist in the past where it's like, oh yeah, I only listen to albums worth of music. And then Spotify came around and I started listening to individual songs, and I started to see the, you know, the merit in kind of like the idea. I mean, there's a reason why people used to make mixtapes back in the day, because it's cool to have like a mixture of a variety of kind of music, just like the bangers from a bunch of different things, right? But I've only been basically listening to what is effectively mixtapes, you know, for a while, or lesser than mixtapes, but because they're Spotify playlists and sometimes they're auto generated. But yeah, like I want to get that balance of like, it'd be cool to have like a mixtape type of situation, but also listen to albums. Like I'm willing to embrace both. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and cut it off there. This is my monthly video. We'll see if I do another one. I gotta edit this shit down. I'm not looking forward to that. Hopefully the audio stays synced up through the majority of the video. We shall see. And yeah, thank you for watching. And I look forward to hearing everybody else's music this year.